one club saved from extinction, and a big blockbuster move. Stay tuned. Welcome back to BritBoy Hockey. We are back, the rumours are flying, the rosters are changing, and clubs are continuing to build their 26-27 NIHL season rosters. Before we jump in though, you know the drill by now. For the latest updates, make sure to slapshot that like and subscribe button and turn on notification. That subscriber count is slowly making its way up to 400. Let's get there by the end of this year, maybe even by the start of the new season. Before we jump in though, apologies on the missed upload last week. If you live in the UK, you'll know why, and if you don't live in the UK, then you won't know why. But there was quite a big heat wave in the UK and across Europe, and quite frankly, it got way too hot to film, and I think it's maybe coming back next week too, so we might not have an upload for next week. Obviously, I try and get the uploads out each week, but when it gets that hot, I don't even think it's safe to film. But we kick off this week with the Sheffield Steeldogs, who have had an incredible week. They've completed a blockbuster signing by bringing in Canadian goalie Shane Owen from the Five Flyers as their starting goalie over Alex O'Dale. In itself, that's a great partnership, but Shane Owen is an incredible goalie. He's been the backbone to a Five Flyers team that's had some issues on and off the ice recently, if you've been following all of that situation. And the club has also locked down their left winger Nathan Ripley for another season. Moving on to MK, who have snapped up a key import in David Thompson, who makes the move over from the Telford Tigers. He was announced as departing the Tigers, I believe, in that big bulk of departures that they announced near the start of this off-season. And they've also announced the return of young Lewis Conroy, but Adam Rossbottom has left the club. It's unknown where he is headed. And Yanni Jokinen has officially signed into his new home with the Smoke Eaters Gielen 2 in the Netherlands. Hopefully I've pronounced that team name right. It's a very good team name, it must be said. But he has made the move over to the Netherlands, so all the best to him there. Next we visit the Peterborough Phantoms, who again have no news for us. That's 2 weeks running with no news. They do have a new title sponsor. That's the only news. I believe it is SLS. I don't know what the company actually does, but I believe that is their new title sponsor. So we've gone from the Waldeck Peterborough Phantoms to the Wendy's Peterborough Phantoms. Wendy's is still a sponsor of the club, to now the SLS Peterborough Phantoms. Aaron has dipped his toe into the import market by bringing in Canadian Sean Richards, who joins the club from Amiens in France. Amiens is actually a place I've weirdly been to on a holiday to France, coincidentally. And you also might remember him because he played for the Nottingham Panthers for one season in 21-22. So you might have, I don't know if you're a Panthers fan, you might remember him from that season. The Bristol Pitbulls have signed British goalie prospect Brochan Evans, who joins the club on a two-way deal with the Cardiff Fire in the NIHL 1 South Division. That makes sense because Bristol have a partnership with the Cardiff Fire. They also have a partnership with the Cardiff Devils and the Cardiff Canucks, so they've actually got a partnership with every team in Cardiff. But obviously it makes sense because the distance between Bristol and Cardiff is not too far. The Leeds Knights have confirmed the re-signing of British defenceman Jordan Griffin, and a lot of news from Basingstoke. Firstly, they've secured the signature of Canadian import defenceman Charlie Risk, who joins from a season that he spent in both Germany and in America. And if you follow departure news closely, you would have noticed that recently Nine Hockey Management, which is an agency, had announced that he had signed with a British club, and that turned out to be the Basingstoke Bison. He's also the brother of the Glasgow Clan's Brady Risk. But on the departure list, there are two departures from the Silver Dome in Brendan Baird, who has gone to the Streatham Redhawks, and Adam Erskine, who has gone to the Invicta Dynamos, both in the NIHL 1 South Division. Next, Hull. You've been busy, which means no banter from the admin on TikTok. Thank you very much for that. It was much appreciated. Will Durgant has signed on a two-way with the Hull Jets, and they've also re-signed Aidan Dancer, who will continue his two-way with the Jets. For other news, previously departed Jordan Stallard has signed with a club in Germany called EC Harzer Falken. Hopefully I've not pronounced that wrong. They're in the German 4th tier. And the club has also confirmed and released their complete off-ice team, which I will leave on screen right now. The Telford Tigers have announced that their contract with title sponsor Autocraft, which was always to conclude on July 31st of this year, will not be renewed. Therefore, there will be a new title sponsor in Telford. Can't remember who the title sponsor was before Autocraft. And additionally, as I've already said, David Thompson signs with MK. Over to the Raiders, who have confirmed that twins Austin and Dawson Osborne are returning for another season. You'll remember last season they made the move from Tim Wallace's MK to the Romford Raiders, and they are sticking with the Romford Raiders for another season. And I finished with saying something that I honestly did not think I would be saying this off-season, but Solway are back. Isn't it great news? The team up north, which I've been saying to everyone, I think is everyone's favourite team that they don't support. It's a great club. It's a great atmosphere up there. Everyone loves their trips up to Solway, up to Dumfries. You don't need to know how many times I've said that I love my trip up to Dumfries. I love my trip up to the Ice Bowl. And I honestly did not think that the Solway Sharks, a Solway team would be returning to the league, although throughout this whole series really, and I even had to make a separate video on it, where I said, I don't think Solway are going to come back, and even if they do, it's a very tight timeline. It is a very tight timeline, but if they can, if they've already got some signings completed, and if they can, hang on to the players who were in that Solway Sharks setup, which we'll get onto in a second, then I think they will be able to field, a decently competitive team. Look, Solway were never a team that, were reaching for the top of the league or reaching for the playoffs or for the cup or the league, but they were always kind of just outside of that kind of playoff spot, and maybe they can, get back and get going. The league released a statement confirming that the team owners of the league, that is, have approved a brand new operating company for the team. That's basically a new ownership group, a new consortium to take the team forward. As of right now, the club is called Solway IHC Ice Hockey Club, but of course expect that to change. I think the guy who owns, or still does own, the Solway Sharks trademark probably just hasn't sold it to the new owners soon. You would imagine that he's going to just hand that over to them, because when John Strange, our good old friend John Strange, when he owned the team, I believe this guy still owned the trademark, and of course you have to have permission to use the trademark. I don't think you can really imagine a team up in Solway being called anything but the Sharks, so hopefully they can hold on to that name. With the future secure, the club has officially appointed Martin Grubb as head coach, so he returned. I mean, that was kind of inevitable, wasn't it? He's been so well connected to the whole Solway setup, and especially the Sharks, I don't even know how many years. And Liam Stenton has also become the first player who returns to the club from the previous Solway Sharks setup. He is their captain. He was the captain of the Sharks before. He's on a new 3-year deal. So thankfully Solway are back. John Strange is gone. I wouldn't want to be John Strange though, because I believe he lives in the area and he still, as I'm recording this, hasn't paid people back. That's not a situation you want to be in, because I think those Solway fans will want their money back. And before we finish, some big news. Episode 7 has brought the league's roster and game day lineup article, which is basically the classification of what a British trained player is and a non-British trained player is. I'm going to hopefully cover that in more depth in a separate video, but just to make it really basically the key points. 5 imports this season officially. Last season you could have 5 imports. You could only field 4. You can now field 5. At least 600 minutes for a British goalie to play in goal. So that is 10 games across the course of a season. Some teams won't be affected by that, like the Swindon Wildcats, for example, or like the Bristol Pitbulls. But some teams with import goalies, I'm trying to think of a team with an import goalie, someone like the Romford Raiders, they're going to have to play Owen Ryder for at least 10 games over Cole Ceci. I'm going to cover everything else. I know there's the Disco Stewart rule. I'm going to cover that hopefully in a separate video. I might put the article on screen now, and I might leave the link to it down below in the comments or in the description or in both. So if you want to go read that article for yourself, if you haven't already, you can go and do so. But that wraps up episode 7 of our NIHL Summer Roundup. If you enjoyed this video, of course, make sure to like, subscribe and turn on notifications. And as Mr. Ryan Reynolds, who I'm sure will be very happy with Canada's World Cup advancement, would say, don't have a good day, have a great day. It's been BritBoy Hockey, and I will see you in the next one as always. Goodbye!